presentation. Actually, as the heading says, I'm here to just share with you our journey in the process of improving our customer services and improving the quality of our services. Just keep the layout and just go to the geographical location. As it says, we're for PPF pension fund is a pension fund in Tanzania. It's a country located at the eastern part of Africa. We're neighbors with the Kenyans, a safari destination, so they say. Yeah, that's in a nutshell where my country is. Our socioeconomic indicators is we have a population of 44 million people. Life expectancy 52, GDP is 23 billion US dollars, per capita is 41, inflation is 8%, and a labor force of 21 million. So as a pension fund, the statistics of the labor force are very important because we're involved with covering people in the formal and the informal sector, getting coverage in the social security sector. An overview of the social security sector in Tanzania. It comprises of 4 pension funds and 1 provident fund. The sector is moderated by a regulatory authority, and the 5 funds have in total 1.8 million members and 87,000 pensioners. So compare that to the labor force of 21 million, there's still a lot of room to grow. So there's growth potential in that in our sector. We just need to place ourselves, reorganize ourselves, and just push the customer service strategy. Probably we might be able to extend our coverage and cover more members. What is PPF? It's a social security institution established in 1978 with the aim of providing pensions and other related terminal benefits to employees in the parastatal sector and those from the private sector. What we do in a nutshell, we register members, we collect contributions, we invest the contributions, and then we pay benefits when a member leaves the scheme due to various reasons. It could be death, could be retirement, could be loss of work through retrenchment, or termination or resignation, moving to a better job. PPF is the 3rd largest pension fund in Tanzania, with a membership size of 235 and 907 members, with a net value as of June 2013 of 812.5 million US dollars, with 26,400 pensioners. So definitely that net value that you see there in the membership size, as I will explain later, has come about due to the changes that we brought in the customer services and the improvement of service in our organization. Why did we decide to introduce the reforms in the service provision? One of the key factor was the introduction of competition in the social security sector in Tanzania. How the sector operated before the reforms came about in 2008. The pension funds operated sectorial. What it meant was each pension fund had exclusivity in a certain sector. For instance, PPF pension funds. It was the name PPF comes from parastatal pension fund. It was a pension fund that only catered for parastatal institutions. So it meant that employees who were hired in that particular sector, that is parastatal, they were forced by law to subscribe to our pension scheme. So sort of it built a monopoly. It was some form of a monopoly. So the same thing happened to other social security funds. We had a local government social security fund, specific for the local government, exclusive for the local government. We had for the civil service, and we had for the private sector. So this was sectorial, and each sector had an exclusivity which created some form of monopoly. So in 2008, the government actually opened up the sector in the reforms and allowed members to decide which scheme to subscribe to. So it was upon members to decide. If I want to go to PPF or any other scheme, I'm allowed by law. So that what that did was it brought about stiff competition, cutthroat competition, and definitely for us to survive and sustain our fund, we had to reorganize ourselves. So this is why we thought that one of the areas that needed improvement was a quality service provision. Another thing was member complaints and other services. Member complaints were mostly in benefits. Our core work is to provide terminal benefits to our members when they leave employment, as I said before. Now, we had a lot of complaints in that particular area, definitely, I suppose, due to us being a monopoly created a lot of complacency. I suppose people were in no hurry. I think the culture was just all wrong. We attribute that to the monopoly and of course the Tanzanian culture at the same time. So we received a lot of complaints, and that was just in benefit, but as well as other services. What we do, we issue membership numbers to our members when they're registered. We issue statements, and we had a standard time to do that. Benefits were to be paid in 4 weeks. IDs from our members were to be issued in 5 days. We're supposed to deposit in the account of our pensioners on the 25th of every month, but we're not able to do all of that. Now, at that particular time, we didn't know why until we did an analysis and found out some of the problems were just the culture of people. People didn't have the speed culture. They just didn't have the commitment and the push to actually do these things faster and be able to meet our standards. Another problem was, of course, the member complaint led to a problem in attaining our corporate objectives. One of our key corporate objectives in the 5-year corporate strategy plan is to double our membership size in the next 5 years. So we're to double the membership size, and the membership size has a direct correlation to the net value of the organization. So we wanted to double that so that that could double the net value of the fund. So we thought that without reorganizing ourselves, we won't be able to achieve that, which is core, and the survival of the organization will be in jeopardy. So we had to bring about reforms in the company. How did we go about the reforms? What the management did was, it formulated a team to steer the process. What the team did a study and found out a few problems and came up with recommendations. And one of the recommendations was to introduce the customer care policy, which eventually led to a customer care charter. So that was just one of the recommendations. There are other recommendations. Our processes had problems and our people had problems, but the key issue that was actually that came up in the study was the problem of customer services, and they thought that what we should do is introduce a customer care policy and a customer care culture that will help us to move forward. So the key proposal was to introduce the customer care charter, which was under the customer care policy. Now, the charter in PPF, it outlines our promises. It's actually a bucket of promises. We have promises for all our processes. For instance, payment of benefits. We have a standard time in the customer care charter. It's supposed to be 28 days. Let's say issuance of membership contribution statements. It's supposed to be done at the end of every month. That is a standard. How long does it take to pick up a phone call? We have a standard for that. It's 5 seconds. How long does it take, let's say, to attend to a customer when he walks into the lobby for the customer, for the frontline staff? It's supposed to take not less than 5 minutes. So we had those standards in the customer care charter. But what we realized was we will not be able to achieve whatever we set out in the customer care charter without change in mindset, in perception, in looking at things. So we thought that in order to do that, in order to leave the customer care charter, we had to introduce the reforms, and the reforms were to be specific on people's perceptions, attitudes, mindset change, and all of that. So the executions, as I've already said, it thought that the customer care charter could not be achieved until the mindset change was brought about. So it was imperative to introduce the culture change program. And that is when our partner, Mr. Versi Noasis, came into play. And they looked at our problems and they advised which programs we should actually take on board. So our consultants actually advised us that the programs we should take on board should take 3 years. We should go through a 3-year culture change program, because they figured, as we said before, that our main problems was with mindset change and attitude and all of that. And as the previous speaker said, talked about Kazakhstan, they said they came from a certain culture because I suppose of the politics of the time and the economy of the time. We went through the same thing. We were a socialist state before '85, so there was a certain culture. The competition culture wasn't there, so of course the mindset of the people and the outlook of the people was a bit different. So because of that, with the experience of our consultants, they thought that the key issue here was just mindset change. The people are hospitable. If you come to Tanzania, Tanzanians are very hospitable people. As you can see, Mr. Vesti, he seems to do something. Yeah, we're very hospitable people, but they just, without being hospitable, what we needed was just polish. Yeah, so they came up with the polishing aspect of it in order for us to be able to move forward and achieve our goals. So the plan was supposed to be a three-year cultural change program. It had enormous commitment from the top management. The Director General was very committed to this because before the program started, he made sure he explained the program and the objective of the program to every staff in the organization through meetings. We had various meetings before the program started. He also had articles on the intranet just explaining the program, not each program, but just in a nutshell what it's all about, and actually push this to even leaders in teams that before even the program started, we should at least let our people understand what it's all about and what we're trying to achieve. So that was a commitment, and it just didn't stop there. It actually went to the financing, because they financed it because they thought it was important and we needed it. And yeah, so it was financed, and that was the aspect of the top management involvement. How did we go about it again? The process started with getting the consultants. The consultants, what they're supposed to do was to come up with a program, of course, and how the program would work. But at the same time, how are we going to do the program? It was a training program which was to be done by local staff, not external people. And the reason behind, I suppose, was to bring a sense of ownership. Because if it's done locally, as the previous speaker said, it brings the sort of, yeah, this is one of our own. It's actually teaching us these things. So, this is our thing, and it helps in actually changing people's perceptions and the effectiveness of the program. So that was what the consultant actually advised, and that's what was done. So the participation of the program drew people from different levels. The participation involved top management to bottom level. And most of the training sessions had a mixture of staff. Top level, the DG, the Director General, sitting with the driver of the organization, and they're all learning the same thing. That, we think, was a key issue in helping people to actually embrace the program. People felt that if the DG is there, and the DG is in a program with me, a driver, and it was easy and it was facilitated by our local staff, our own staff, who probably is just a low-level facilitator staff. So it just brought that issue of we are one, we should own the program, and we're together in this. Because if it was done differently, with the culture, with our culture, it would bring that it's their program. They sit together there and they come up with these things and they just run them through us. Yeah, so that was the participation part of it. So what the consultant did, trained the facilitators, as I said, internally, and they were just not trained. In Tanzania, they even had an experience to do a study tour. We actually went to South Africa, to some of the leading companies in South Africa, to learn how they implemented speed, how they implemented empowerment, the feelings. So at least this gave them first-hand experience and actually have an understanding on what they were going to train their peers. The appointment of the team, the facilitators were appointed based, it was voluntary. You were not forced, you just decided. Anybody that wanted to join will just join in, just put up your name. So again, it brought in people that actually wanted to do this, which is, again, goes back to the whole issue of ownership and embracing the program. The teaching aids were actually provided by the consultant. The content, which I suppose is from Mr. John here, was very good. What we did was we customized it to our local setting. Because some of the examples, we had to customize to a local setting, as the previous speaker said here, so in order for our people to actually understand and get a grasp on the programs. The teaching aids were very good as well, because the program, the whole training program involved participation in role plays, the VNets, And even one very peculiar aspect of the program was there was a reward system in the training, that if somebody is very engaging and very participatory in the training program, would be awarded at the end of the program. So you score points during the sessions. So if you're participatory, you're very involved in the program, answer questions, you get points, and at the end of the session, these points add to a reward. And of course, the reward was not money or anything, but people were actually, this was communicated by the Director General to other staff, that this staff in this particular program actually won these points and is done very well and they should be congratulated. So that, of course, brought about the sense of pride, which again, other people wanted to be participatory, to be involved in the program in order for the program to succeed. So as I say, training was customized, participatory, and non-departmental. That is already said. Now the program, how did it go about? The program was a 9 modules program. Each module ran for 5 months. To date, we've been able to achieve 6 modules have been completed, with the exception of exceptional service, loyal for life, and the summary of what we've been able to learn. And we're expecting to do this in the next financial year. Of course, why we didn't finish this, we didn't go according to plan. There were some budgetary constraints. Yeah, but of course, with the commitment of the top management, we believe we should be able to finish this next year. The programs that we went through, the consultants, as our key player in the training, told us that in order for us to become the model service provider in our sector, we had to go through that, the 9-step to exceptional service. So we started with the leadership empowerment training, the LET, which was according to the plan. It was supposed to start in June to October. It did. We went through the feelings program, as other people have actually talked about. It was to build an empathetic workforce. A workforce that actually understands each other, by understanding each other and understanding customers, they get to provide exceptional customer service. We went through empowerment, empowering our staff to make on-spot decision. One of our biggest problems in the complaints that I talked before was the delay in payment. You see, I'll just talk a little bit on the payment process of a pension scheme. Of course, it involves knowledge, definitely. You have to understand what you're doing. But at times you find that, because we go through, it's a claim that is lodged, and that particular claim is supposed to be paid, it's a document. So you'll find at times there are very minor information, very not important information that is missing on the claim. But it's because our staff that actually receive the claim are not empowered enough, they will send the member home that, go and rectify that information or go put that information down and bring back the claim to us. That, of course, agitated our members. But the problem was just empowerment. We just didn't understand that there are alternatives to everything. So when somebody lodges in, just look at the claim. Is there an alternative? Are they breaking any laws? If they're not, if it's according to procedure, let it go. Same with the people that were paying the claims. Somebody receives a claim, he starts stopping the claim of a very silly thing that he could have either consulted, or even from experience would have actually let the claim just sell through and us be able to meet our standards that we've outlined in our customer care charter. But again, the same person will leave the claim there and not sort it out, and then it will take longer to actually pay the claim. So empowerment brought in people that ability to be able to sort out things. They didn't have to consult everything. And of course, what it did, again, it emphasized the issue of knowledge. Most of our staff are very experienced in whatever they're doing, so they have the knowledge. They just didn't understand how to use the knowledge in order to make on-the-spot decision. So I believe what we've been able to achieve, which you'll see later, is due to all the programs, of course, but empowerment in certain aspects that are very core in our organization. We went through, remember me, the care aspect of staff to just care for our customers, remember their first names, and all of that. We went through speed, do it right, do it fast. We went through we went through bad campaign, It was exceptional and loyal for life. We haven't done. Went through bad campaign, which was at least to build some sort of ownership, which is when you actually try to minimize companies' resources, coming up with solutions to problems, which eventually improves the quality of service that we provide to our customers. So in a nutshell, that is what we've been able to achieve, and that is what we've been able to put in play in our organization. How did we measure performance? As some of the tools that were given by consultants, we came up with a team of 20 assessors who are appointed within the organization. And the tools that they used, of course, they used the evaluation forms, the customer surveys, the surveys that were done internally. Some of the things, those are what were given by the consultant, but as well, our management and in collaboration with other staff, in that whole aspect of people being part of what we do. We came up with a system that actually we're implementing right now, actually tracks how quick somebody responds, let's say, to a claim, to an email. An email has been sent to you to do something. How quick do you respond to that? Even acknowledgement of that particular email. How quick do you do that? So we figured that helped us to actually understand where we are in the programs and where we are as a change process. At the same time, on the evaluation, other than the evaluation tools that the consultant gave us, we've built a system called CRMS, Customer Relationship Management System. This system had been there before, but now we've just improved it. It's a system that is used to track data and queries from customers. We have walk-in customers, so we record the walk-in customer query on the system that is manually by typing it. We get letters as queries. They're actually scanned and linked into the system, so we follow how long it takes to actually answer that particular query or answer that letter, because you can actually follow that in the system and see, because it's